Greetings viewers, so as promised, second video on the Bernie 2020 campaign. I've held off on intervening or talking about the politics of the campaign until now for a bunch of strategic reasons. And part of it was that even I myself, even though I study forms of social change and geopolitics, didn't fully understand what was going on. I could sense some of the contradictions, but didn't quite know what was going on until certain things had happened, certain patterns manifested. So I want to talk about three things that you should know about Bernie 2020. Number one, this is it, my friends. This is the movement to change America and the world in the 21st century. This is what Obama promised but was never going to deliver. This is what Occupy was fighting for, but was just a prelude to. This is what all the struggles of the last 10 years have been building to this moment. This is a moment of profound transformative change. And the reason is that Bernie isn't just a person. Bernie is a network. Bernie is tens, hundreds of thousands of people creating a new organizational form, a new form of the digital commons, a new form of political association. We don't even have models for it. Someone has to invent a name. My guess is we'll have to look at the science fiction writers and look at what some of they've done and borrow something from them to describe this thing. Every great period of revolution, there's always some new organizational form. The Atlantic revolutions, it was the National Party, National Army, the classic revolutions, the early 20th century, was the Leninist Party, the Social Democratic Party, other kinds of mass politics and forms of political participation. With decolonization, it was the mass revolutionary upsurge, the general strike, the people's movement, civil rights struggles. This is new, though. This is a participatory digital media revolution that has something to do with the digital commons. We have no idea how it works, but it's coming together at incredible speed. It has a gender component, it's about race, it's about class, it's about sexuality, it's about liberation, it's about struggle, it's about the past, present, future. Everything is coming together with the Bernie campaign. You can feel the energy. You can feel the energy in its media productions, which have been extraordinary. The best political media since the Ukrainian Revolution of 2013, 2014. Just astounding. Every day there's something new happening with the campaign, and it keeps building and growing, and its networks are growing. Two things I want to mention about the Bernie campaign, and there's a misconception that I want to address, and then there is a geopolitical perspective. Now, there's a slight misconception among some folks about Bernie, and interestingly, it's shared on the right because they don't really understand what's going on with Bernie and others. But it's also something that I think certain leftists fail to understand, and that is that the place of Elizabeth Warren in all of this. Actually, Elizabeth Warren has been an entirely positive force for this race. She's been very good for the Bernie campaign. She's brought energy, ideas, and the voice of women. She's been very inspiring for many young female activists. Now, she also has her limitations as a candidate, and the reason that she hasn't gained traction is that A, most of the networks are with Bernie, but B, it's also the specific kind of politics. One of the issues there is that her whole messaging is very much as a professor. So she comes across as the teacher. And that doesn't resonate with most Americans, unfortunately. We're not that kind of society. Bernie resonates because he's an ordinary working class guy from Brooklyn, and he resonates as the guy next door. He's your Uncle Bernie, and he's there to help you out. And people resonate, and that resonates with people. Warren has much less success with that because she sounds and acts like a professor. She was a professor for years and years. No, I'm a professor myself. I understand her pain. I understand the limitation. I would have the same problem if I ran for office. I would sound like a professor because, of course, that's what I am. Bernie's not that, though. So he has that intuitive kind of link to people. Now, that's a difference of messaging in terms of content. She's there with us. Every vote for her and all those candidates and delegates that she's going to win will go with Bernie when the time comes. So it's very good to have two progressive candidates tearing up the field and winning, 40 to 50% of the field in the Democratic primary. Very important. The last thing that I would want to mention, the Bernie campaign is about a lot more than just something in America. This is the leading edge of a massive global transformation. We are entering an epoch of revolution. Between 2020 and 2025, our world system is going through the biggest political transformation in decades. It's going to be astounding. It starts in America. I have no idea why the weak link turned out to be the United States, the heartland of capitalism, of empire, of all reaction. Or maybe that's precisely why it turned out to be the weak link. That which capital thought was the strongest turned out to be the weakest link. Dialectical irony to that. But it's happening. It's on. And the next stage is, as the Bernie campaign continues to surge and get bigger and generate more power, more volunteers, more effort. This is just the beginning. It's going to spread. And by this fall, it's going to trigger other insurrections and uprisings elsewhere in the world system. The first places are going to be the rich areas of East Asia, or they're going to see their versions of people's movements, and the European Union. They go off. 2021, 2022, they go through their political mobilizations, inspired by the success of the Bernie campaign. By 2023, 2024, the next stage will happen, and that is political change spreads throughout the entire semi-periphery. Brazil, Russia, Ukraine, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, on and on and on. The semi-peripheral, and of course China, they're going to have massive democracy movements, uprisings, movements for reform, revolution, anti-kleptocrat, anti-plutocrat. Extraordinary change is going to come to those societies. And then by 2025, the global peripheries, the polities of Africa and South Asia, particularly India, you're going to see mass movements of various kinds. It might happen a little sooner in places, in certain areas of those regions, or it might happen a little bit later, but that's more or less the timeline. We're entering a period of global insurrection. And the reason is we have no choice. We're under deadline. We have to change our economy, our polity, our societies. We have to cut carbon dioxide emissions by half by 2030, or we do not have a planet. We have to get this done. It's resistance or extinction. That's absolutely true. And I'll do everything I can to resist, because I want there to be a future for all human beings on this planet.